Bam. What's going on, everyone? Happy Wednesday. Happy Wednesday morning. Welcome to the show. My name is Elliot Rodriguez. I'll be your host for today. Um, yes, there's always something going on with with my streams. No, I have a guest, but my guest has not confirmed if they will be on today. So we'll see what happens. There's always something going on. Those crazy stuff. But yes, yeah. Welcome to the show. If anything, it'll be just you and I for a few minutes, and then I'll have to dip out. But yeah, just wanted to say hi to the people in the chat. It's my sister. What's going on? Hey, D. By the way, I got your stuff for it's gonna be a Christmas and birthday present because I got a lot of stuff. What's going on, Mighty Magic? Good to see you. Hello, Amanda B. Always a pleasure to see you. How you doing? Yeah, and then everybody saying hello to each other. Yes. So yeah, I mean, I guess for the moment we'll just hang out and I'll just share with you some tidbits. Let me see if I can find something because there are a few things that I'd like to show off. Um, I want to give a shout out to my boy, my buddy Paul Bird from AGE Comics yesterday. I think it was yesterday. His comic had officially launched. I don't know if that would be considered like one of those silent launches because I was unaware that it would go live in this fashion. I thought it would be like a launch stream, unless I missed out, and there might have been an actual launch stream. But yes, so let me go ahead and share this before. Yeah, here we go. And so yeah, so the Fall of Man is live and it's currently funded on Indiegogo. Um, yeah, a ninja launch. Yeah, that's exactly it. I forgot a stealth launch, ninja launch. That sounds right. Yeah, he just everybody was sleeping and he launched it. So I don't know. But yeah, so it's live. It's a good comic. Paul was on the show way back, way back, way back in the day. No, he was on the show yeah a few months ago. And we were talking about his book, and he was going over it, and it's hello. Yeah, we're at the mercy of my internet, so that sucks. It sucks. It sucks big time. But yes. Please let me know if you can hear me because I don't know if I'm talking to myself or if you guys can hear me or not. But yeah, Fall of Man is a story of kaiju taking over the world, and kaiju, from my understanding, is big monsters like Godzilla and things like that. I think it was anime word I'm not too familiar with. But yeah, it's a really cool story. Uh, Sometimes I don't know. I'm at the mercy of the internet for real because it'll go and then hopefully it'll come back. But yeah, so let's take a look. Really cool stuff here on the campaign, and I'm certainly incredibly biased towards this because my art is in the campaign, and my art is actually like one of the covers for it. So, which is really cool. It's a tremendous honor and a pleasure, and and yeah, watch take a look at that. Just really good stuff. And so you have the featured tier here. You have the digital, which is I would assume just the book. I was scrolling through this earlier and I saw that there's two covers. So you get this the cover by the artist of the book, and then you get this cover from me, which is artwork that I did earlier this year. You can get both of the covers. And I like this one here, the digital exclusive, which that's the one I'm eyeing. Here you get, for example, let's take a look here. It says you get the digital version. You also get black and white version. You get the script, and also you get a bunch of digital prints as screensavers. So it's like a big bundle of a lot of digital stuff there. So that's really cool, and I think I'm going to get that, which is really nice. And so yeah, I mean the lettering. I'm very keen on this lettering. I think Paul is doing a good job with the letters. The artwork is also really good. The colors and everything is nice. Yeah, I dig it. I really dig it. And and I don't know if Paul will be okay with me sharing this, but there is a story with the green of that monster. The monster was originally colored like a brownish color, like the color of his spikes in that picture. And when I did my artwork, and then we got my artwork colored, the colorist, I guess by intuition, decided to go with the green color, and then he showed us this artwork with the green. I'm assuming he chose green because it contrasts with the blue and the yellows and the bricks and the wall and the building and stuff. So he chose that color, and it came out very well, very nice. I like it, I dig it, and yeah, I remember Paul saying that he was playing with the idea of either staying with this green color or going back to the original, which I think it was an orange-ish color. I'm not sure, but but uh but yeah, so that's an interesting tidbit, behind the scenes decisions that are made last moment, last minute. I'm sorry, my guest is here, so just give me a second. And so yeah, Fall of Man is live. It's currently funded on Indiegogo. So you can get this digital bundle, you can get the physical book, you can get both books, and also, if you like, you can get drawn into the book also, um, which is always a cool tier. And then here at the very, very bottom, you can get the original artwork for the Fall of Man. I probably should have it with me, but I don't. But let me show you the piece. Uh, just a second, please bear with me. Um, I'll take a look at the Fall of Man cover. Here it is. Just a second. Just a second. Please bear with me. Please bear with me. Yes. So here it is. This is the cover for Fall of Man. This is the line art, obviously, and I have several videos of this on the channel of me working on this, working on Kilat, which is this main character. There's also a video of me working on the rubble, so you can see how I pull off this texture effect on the building. And just a really good piece. So this original piece is up on the campaign also, if you would like that. So it would be awesome if you can get that, so you can help push Paul over. Well, he's already funded, but we could always go for more money for the campaign. So and yes, he says any extra money that he makes on this is going to go to the next book. So it's always good to help a creator out. And yeah, so that is on the campaign, so you can get that. And I'm going to bring my guest on. There's just one more thing that I want to announce. December 14th, everybody. December 14th will be my last stream for the year. I think it may be my last stream ever. I'm not sure yet. I have to think about that. But yes, on December 14th, I'm going to reveal everything about my comic. I'm still working on it. The cover is finished. I did show that off last week. I finished the cover. Now I'm on to page 3. I'm working on that. I'm thinking about doing. I already have a picture of Zadok, my main character, but I'm really messing with the idea of redoing it, because there's one mistake that I noticed with the original art and this new art that I'm doing that makes me want to consider maybe doing another concept art. I may do that, but if not, I'll just continue working with getting these pages out. I'm on page 3, and I should start inking that maybe tomorrow or the day after that. So I'll just keep chugging and moving along. And so yes. So yeah, just wanted to announce that December 14th. Please tune in to the channel. We'll take a look at all of the things that I have to show off. I have a lot of concept art. I have a cover. I have uh, interiors, and I think that's about it. And the logo, yeah, the logo for the book. The logo's done, and yes. So yeah, also want to say hello to General. What's going on, General? Good to see you, man. Thank you very much for sharing the campaign. I don't know what that is, but yeah, thanks. Thank you very much. And yes, my guest is here. So let me stop sharing that. And yeah, my guest from many indie comics. His name is Michael Oden. He has worked on several books and several titles, and he's in my opinion, a prolific writer. He's really good, and we're going to just take a deep dive with his creative process, some of his work that he's been doing recently, projects that he's aiming to do for the future, and then see what else we can find out about my man Michael Oden. So without further ado, please welcome to the show Michael Oden.
What up?
Hey, what's going on, man? Good to see you.
Good to see you too. Sorry, I'm not on like camera.
Yeah,
I've got
no worries.
My son had like a half day at his preschool, and I've got work at like 2:30. So I was like, I'm not gonna like go pick him up at 12:30, and then him be all excited for me picking him up, and then me being like, "Bye, buddy, I gotta go into work. I'll see you at 7:30."
Yeah,
like that just seems kind of rude.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, no worries at all. Yeah, I have a daughter also, and then yeah, just no need to apologize. I definitely understand what that is, having to juggle work life and then being a parent and also doing the comic thing. So it's a challenge.
Right there with you, man. It's been an interesting year to say the least.
Definitely. Is that your first child?
Yeah, he's so when I was promoting the Embrace, there was a lot of stuff going on with that because his mom and I had separated and we were going through.
Man, I'm sorry.
We were going through a bit of a messy bout in terms of custody and what have you. And I was very fortunate in how that went. It went in my favor, and I am. You made your unicorn happy? That's so cool.
That's awesome.
My black unicorn got happy yet.
Oh, okay. Do you want to say hi, James?
Hi, James.
You're James. They're not James.
Hello, James. How you doing?
This is Elliot.
Oh.
Anyways, he is doing some learning activities on ABC Mouse.
Yeah.
And he is
That's awesome.
Currently checking in on his neglected digital pets. That's a pretty cool cover. I wonder where that came from.
Yeah. This is from the campaign. Yeah, excellent artwork. Really good stuff.
Dean has leveled up like crazy.
Yeah.
And I actually need to redo this cover. We had not the art, but like the graphic stuff, because like I have Paul Billick, who was our colorist from the first book, listed up there, but there was like he's from the Ukraine, and so like obviously things have been kind of nuts, and there was a period where we hadn't heard from him in months, and I knew that he was okay, but like we like for the sake of moving forward, we ended up replacing him with a colorist from a book you might have heard of called Lost Pages.
Nice.
Eugene Bedevue, and he's absolutely phenomenal. And I actually have his completed 2-page. Like Dean did this beautiful 2-page spread that's like one of the opening pages.
Yeah.
Too, and we have that color.
Yeah, let me share that with you because I got that. The colors on this came out exceptionally well.
Like
this 2-pager. No, this one.
Got Abra in the chat giving me some praise on the Yes, this is the one.
Yeah.
Thanks so much, Abra's 2 cents. Your review genuinely made me cry. because you like Elliot. I'm not sure if you've seen her review on this,
Yeah.
but like she affect like it. It's not really animated, but like it almost feels like a motion comic. And there was a point in the video where she's showing like that opening sequence where Clarence is like about to make like the bad decision, and David pops up, and right when that happens, there's like an audio bit of like a little kid saying "daddy," and like I wasn't ready for that. I wasn't ready for it at all, and I just said, "Oh, I need to pause the video and get myself together for a second."
Oh man, I imagine it right now. Yeah, I haven't seen that review. I'm fully aware of Abra. I came across her with the review she did for Wraith of God, and you're really good stuff. She's got incredible talent for putting together the animation stuff for her videos. Really good stuff. Yeah, for the people in the chat, be sure to check out Abra's 2 cents. She has her channel on YouTube. She does great reviews. I hope she does more. I don't know if maybe she can take a look at some of the previous ones, maybe. But yeah, great stuff, great content, and yeah, I'll definitely check out that video today if it's if I can today or soon, definitely. And thank you very much, Abra, for showing up in the chat. It's always a pleasure to see you. And yeah, so I've heard a lot of great things about the Embrace. I feel kind of weird because this is like one of the few moments where I have a guest on the show, and I haven't actually like read the book itself.
You could have let me know. I would have sent you a digital.
Oh man, I'd appreciate that, but yeah, I definitely want to contribute financially to that also, because I don't want to like
completely get it.
But yeah, and yeah, I've heard a lot of great things about your writing. I saw the Embrace a long time ago through a friend. His name is Drew. He also has a channel. At that time, you were
Williams. Yeah, man, he's great.
Yeah, awesome guy. And
Drew is one of the first people to ever review any of my books. He's done a review for the Embrace, but he was one of the first people to do a review for my my first series, Elysian Fields, and he and I have been friends like ever since.
Yeah, he's a really cool guy.
But yeah, man. So like we're really trying to up the ante with the Embrace 2. Dean's art has come a crazy long way. I like to call him the glass ceiling in independent comics. Like he started off and he was solid, but like the more that he has done, the more that he has drawn, the better he has gotten. And like one of the things that I think is Dean's strength is he isn't classically trained. And so he's way more experimental with his camera angles and in his sequentials, which is something that I think even Abra had brought up in her review of the first book, is that like everything, like there's so much experimentation with camera angles. There are certainly points where characters aren't as consistent or as tight as they could be. But the big thing that really came through is his use of camera angles and his use of them in the purpose of telling the sequential story. And now the other part of Dean's art is really catching up and going well beyond. So it's like you get something like this, which is just absolutely
great work. Yeah, and the colors really make it pop. It really brings it all out. And yeah, I'm a big fan of his work also. And he has made improvements. You've seen, like, for example, you can compare this piece versus the art that he's done with the first book of Embrace, and then you can see that there's an improvement there.
Yeah.
And this shot, for example, that perspective on the car smashing through the glass, and then the other images within the glass, just really an awesome concept and very well executed. Really good stuff. And there's so much to take in on these 2 pages, and it's really good work. Really excellent work. And speaking, if I may ask, go ahead and ask, how did you get into comics? How did this whole experimenting jumping into comics come about?
So for a long time, I've grew up a big comic book fan.
Yeah.
I had two older brothers growing up, and they got me into a whole bunch of stuff: X-Men, Spider-Man, Captain America, Batman, and the list goes on. And so they never really went away. And while I think the first step that I took was I was deployed to Qatar with my unit, and there was a lot of downtime.
Oh wow.
And I found myself writing for a industry news site called Movie Pilot, and their whole brand was effectively like they had their verified writers who were like their people on payroll, but they allowed everybody to create an account and effectively write their own content, and then they would use that as kind of a scouting tool. And so I don't know. Go on. Let me see. So I had written a few pieces, and then I got noticed on Movie Pilot for a review of the second issue of Superman Rebirth. Hold on 1 second.
Yeah, no worries at all. No worries at all. Superman Rebirth. Sweet. Yeah, I take notes of all this stuff. I go back over it and read it and get to learn more about the creative process. And yeah, good stuff. Good stuff. Yes, let's take a look at the artwork.
Anyways, I am back.
Yeah.
so yeah, I got noticed because I did this review for Superman Rebirth issue 2, called it was I think the title was like Ode to Fatherhood, and because like the whole book was effectively Superman taking his son out on a day on like a mission, and it was really good. So that ended up being discovered by Movie Pilot, and they pushed it across their platform. And so then I started to go through their verified creator program. Oh,
yeah, no worries at all. Yeah, I want to say hi to Dave. What's going on, Dave? I had no idea, Dave, that by the time I had no idea that by the time I'd have Michael on the show that American Bliss would stop being on Indiegogo.
Yeah, I mean that there was a lot of stuff going on with issues of the Indiegogo platform that everyone was having. As a quick shout out, I see Amanda B and obviously Dave in the chat. Everyone just want to say hi.
Definitely.
You know, all these fine people.
But yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't. You were saying you were going to start working with the verified creator program.
Yeah, so I went through their verified creator program, and then it wasn't a very good fit because they were effectively trying to get me to write clickbait, and that's not who I am. So then I started my own blog. And then I got noticed by Heroic Hollywood, and I worked for them for like 2 weeks, and that was miserable. And then I ended up getting picked up by Up Your Geek. And so while I'm in it's another industry news site. They're more on the up and coming still, but like point is that I got brought in for that, and while I was writing all these pieces that were effectively analysis of comic book film, comics, et cetera, I had people going like, well, why don't you do your own? And initially I made like a lot of excuses for myself, being like, you can't just do that, which technically is true as far as like getting into the mainstream. You have to have an agent that's soliciting your work. There's a whole process that you have to go through. It's really kind of difficult from a writing standpoint to get into mainstream comic industry. So as I said, I was having some difficulties with my marriage. The separation had kind of started to. I had been working on the script for Elysian Fields for a while, but this kind of pushed me over the edge, and as like I needed something to keep my sanity going.
Yeah.
And so I did Elysian Fields, and we crowdfunded it. And that's where it started. And the first book was a pretty big success. We ended up, I think I ended up getting close to 400 backers on Elysian Fields #0,
Wow.
and we were on the verge of hitting nine grand for my first book. It was pretty outstanding. And so then I went immediately in and worked and got the sequel of Elysian Fields #0 done, Pyramid Gambit, and that actually hit me pretty hard because I thought that I had done a good job marketing it and getting people hyped, and we just had no traction. And there's like a lot of things that I think went into that, but like Pyramid Gambit almost got me to quit comics because it's like this isn't a cheap thing to do. It's very expensive.
Yeah, tell me about it. Yeah,
Like
I'm becoming fully aware of it. Yeah.
so it's like it's one of those things where you're like, oh man, like I made a little bit less than I made on the first book, but like it was a more expensive book. Like the first book was effectively a supersized floppy. The second book was like a trade format.
Nice.
And so it was like $25. I don't even think we broke 200 backers on Pyramid Gambit. And so it was this huge hit. And at that time, I was also having a lot of things were starting to get really heated up in terms of the dynamic between me and my ex. And so I almost stopped. And then I had this idea. And I was having issues writing the script because I couldn't visualize the character. And that's when I found Dean James, and that's when we created The Embrace. And
Nice.
that was like a reinvigorating experience because like to go from a book that I felt should have cleared like 10K, that should have been a success, but ultimately failed. And then we did The Embrace, and it was, we made just shy of 16K.
Nice.
And
wow.
to see the response, especially to the book, to the point where like Rob Arnold did like his whole CG death match like almost a year ago, and for The Embrace to come out on top of all of these bigger properties, was pretty damn humbling. To see how this character has resonated with people, and I'm really glad that it has. It was born out of a very personal place for me.
I'm sorry. Continue.
No, go on ahead.
No, I was just going to say that because I had no idea that. I don't mean to intrude or to get too personal, but you're talking about your son, and you speak about your father-son relationship. Also, mentioning your father earlier, and then your older brothers, and then this tidbit about The Embrace being a hero, powered, I guess you could say, by a son. I was just curious, and you just hinted at it, know that there is a connection between The Embrace and some of your personal background. Not to get too much into it, but I just thought it was really cool that you were able to bring that into the comic, and that's awesome.
When we were promoting The Embrace, it was something that I was very open about. Is that like The Embrace was kind of born out of the hurt I was feeling at that time, and awesome. Taking that and turning it into something constructive.
Yeah,
and like growing up, one of my favorite comics was James O'Barr's The Crow, and I've always had a fascination with that character. And so I had this kind of idea, I'm not sure how much you know about the background of The Crow.
No, not too familiar with it at all.
James, his wife was killed in a drunk driving accident. She was killed by a drunk driver, and I think that the driver also passed as well. And he was just kind of left empty.
Oh,
and The Crow is kind of a manifestation of that. And the thing that acted as this like catalyst was he saw a news article about a young couple that got jumped over a plastic engagement ring. And so that's where like Eric Draven and Shelley Webster came from. And so while I'm going into this severely dark topic, my son is playing Sonic on his tablet and is going, "Whoa!"
No worries, no worries.
So, anyways, with me, I don't know why this came into my head, but when shortly after James had been born, his mother and we were living in this apartment in Alexandria, Virginia, and
Nice.
there had been an incident in this park that we used to walk through in that area where a kid's body had been found, and it was the evidence tied it to like a gang initiation ritual, and like that came back to me, and that's really like between that story and what I was feeling, what I was going through with the custody fight and everything like that. This came out, but like the thing that I really wanted to make sure that distinguished it from The Crow is that at the end of the day, like The Crow is kind of this revenge story that's completely nihilistic and brutal. But that's not what I wanted to do with The Embrace. I wanted it to be a story that starts in this very dark and hopeless place, but it ultimately is a superhero story. It is a story about light. And like the big thing that like right from the get-go, like the big thing that I envisioned is that his costume would effectively be the hands of his kid wrapping around him and protecting him from harm.
Yeah, that's an awesome just an awesome concept, man. You're about to hit me in the feels right now, man. Yeah, just awesome stuff, man. Yeah, good. And yeah, just I love the character design of this. It's incredibly unique. And I've had the pleasure. It's just a little spoiler for the people in the chat. I've had the pleasure of drawing him for a piece that one day will come out. But it's really a great character design. I love the flexibility, the agility. I love his power set. Really good stuff. And yeah, how did that? It was the creation of the design of this character completely yours, or is that something that you had?
Well, like that was the whole thing. Was I had this idea, and I knew that like I wanted to do this, but I needed to find the right artist for it. Now Dean hadn't done anything at this point, but I had gone to Lee Byron Carver, a man called Kimasabi.
Yes,
awesome great guy. And I pitched him this, and I was like, "Do you know an artist that would be able to do this?" And he went, "Dean James."
Nice.
Dean has really good and heavy distinguishments between light and darks, but more importantly, he likes to draw monsters and what have you. And I talked to Dean and I gave him my pitch. He was like, "This sounds outstanding." And I was like, "Yeah, the only problem is I'm having issues writing the script because I can't see this character. I can't visualize him." And so we talked back and forth, I think for like a week and a half before he sent me his initial pass. And his initial pass was like almost right on the money. Like it was pretty damn close. Like there were very few things that we had to change.
Nice.
But like it was pretty incredible. And then once we had the design captured, I had the first draft of the script done within a week.
Daddy, can I watch mine, please?
I think he stepped out. But yeah, this is a design of the character. Really good stuff.
So cool thing about this isn't even the initial character design. What this is as people are aware, my last book, and we are very close to getting to fulfillment on this. I apologize for the delay that this has taken. Is SPQR's Bizarre Adventure and Elysian Fields Remaster. And so during that process, I got to work with an artist named Kari Salviejo, who's phenomenal.
Yeah.
Her husband is a professional toy designer.
Oh wow.
And so as a thank you, he designed an Embrace figure for us.
Is this the image that I have on the screen now?
Yep.
Oh, nice. Wow. Really good
And so
work. Yeah.
I actually have a prototype here. Hold on. I'm going to come on camera just to show this thing off for a quick sec.
Yeah. No worries. Yeah. No pressure at all.
So,
hold on 1 second. Let me wait. I'm not doing this thing right. Wait.
it's all good, man. Look at that.
Nice. Check that out, everyone. It's a multi-posable figure. Nice.
So we're actually going to have a few of these available on the campaign. It's not going to be a whole lot. They're going to be a collector item, but like that, the idea is effectively it's a proof of concept limited edition thing. And it's pretty cool. But yeah, it's exciting stuff.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, that looks great. It looks great. And that's going to be, you said, on the Embrace 2, yes?
Yep, that's going to be on the
nice.
Embrace 2.
Wow. Awesome stuff, man. And could you run through us the list of books that you've made since you started working? I was unaware of Pyramid Gambit, but you say Elysian Fields is the first, and then Pyramid Gambit is the others?
So Pyramid Gambit is like the sub. So the way that it works is the series is called Elysian Fields, and so the first book that I had done with that was called Issue Number 0, and it was kind of our like origin leading into the actual story. And then Pyramid Gambit is like, if I were to put it, is like the first 3 to 4 issues. Like if you were to break it down into floppies, it would be like effectively the first 3 to 4 issues of Elysian Fields. And so like what Elysian Fields is it's, to put it simply, it's Mortal Kombat with heroes of mythology.
Nice.
Like there's a tournament in the underworld called the Abyssal Tournament of Champions, and deities from the deities of death from all these various different cultures have teams of heroes that compete in this tournament, and the winner of the tournament, that deity becomes the lord of the underworld for the next millennia.
Wow, that's awesome. That's crazy. It does sound influenced by Mortal Kombat. Good stuff.
It's got some Mortal Kombat. The biggest thing that actually played inspiration for me was a series called Fate Zero. Really helped out fleshing out some of the dynamics of how the world worked and what have you. But the story focuses on Team Hades, and our narrative lens is focused on Achilles, who is brought from his paradise in the afterlife to go fight in this tournament. And Hades makes a deal with him that if they win, he will fulfill Achilles' desire. And the question is, like the big question is throughout the story is, what is that choice going to be? Because at the beginning of the series, he's very reluctant to get involved because he's spending his afterlife with the person he loves. And then, so like initially the idea is, well, he's going to ask for a second chance at life with his loved one, or is the demon that plagued him while he was around, his pride, his desire for glory, is that demon going to turn its ugly head back and consume him and make a different choice throughout by the time you get to the end of the series? So that was the first, like that's the first series that I've done, and I'm going to come back to it eventually. It's just there's been so much popular demand for things like the Embrace that it was just like I felt like it was probably in my best interest to focus on that. But hopefully we'll get back to the story of Elysian Fields someday.
Nice.
Then there's obviously the Embrace, as I said.
Yeah.
And I've gone through what that's about. Then I have SPQR's Bizarre Adventure, was my last crowdfunding endeavor, which was a parody of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure mixed with Roman history. And so like I effectively took the final fight between Dio Brando and Jotaro Kujo and turned it into Caesar fighting Pompey in a fictional encounter on the Rubicon River.
Nice. Wow.
It was fun. It was a good time.
Yeah, yeah.
I got to work with Kari, and she's absolutely phenomenal. Her art on that was just tremendous, and I'm so excited for people to get to see that. And then other projects that I've done. I mean, obviously, Dave's in the chat, and we just wrapped up the campaign for the first book in an American Bliss miniseries that I'm writing called Father's Pride. We've got Eric Hodson doing the principal art on the book. And Eric is doing a really bang-up job kind of capturing that Bronze Age era of superheroism. It really, there are some sequences in there that really kind of feel like, you know, Christopher Reeve style Superman. And like that was really the goal with that book, was to make something that felt like a classical, traditional superhero. And it was a blast. And, you know, the story itself is, you've got Kendra, who is American Bliss, and she's kind of new to the scene as this hero, and she's kind of struggling with her identity and her legacy as a daughter of a former big hero that's passed. And so there's a lot of that plays into the book. It's effectively, I don't want to say her earning her title, because I think that, you know, the moment that you make the decision to be a hero, you've kind of earned that. But it's her kind of cementing herself as this new fate, this new defender and champion of American justice and values. And it's exciting. It's a really fun book, and you know, I've been really impressed with what everyone's brought to the table on it, and it's been a blast working with Eric on it as well. And I mean, Dave's genuine verse is one of those things that, like, to play a part in that is incredibly awesome. And then other side things I've done, I have a web. I haven't published in it in like a hot minute, but for a while I was starting up a webtoon series to try and expand my audience, called Errand of the Sable Knight, and it was like my love letter to Arthur. I'm probably just going to hold off on doing that until I can just pay for the whole thing to be done, and then I'll do a campaign for it. But like, it wasn't really hitting what it needed to over on Webtoon. Like, I'm very proud of it. We had Dino Agor doing the line art and Avery Ferdinand doing the colors, and it's absolutely beautiful.
Nice.
But it just wasn't.
How did you find all these artists? How do you go about selecting which ones are good for different projects? Are there recommendations?
So like I have like multiple avenues on how I go select artists. Like I go and I occasionally shop through portfolios on platforms like DeviantArt and ArtStation, much less Deviant at this point, because it's become super saturated with people that are aspiring but aren't at the professional level yet. I tend to stick, if I'm going to find talent, off of one of those, I generally look at ArtStation, because most of those guys have professional portfolios and have contacts. And you get a pretty quick turnaround on response. But then I also utilize other social media platforms. Facebook, Instagram are both very valuable tools, where, like, you know, I'm a part of like 6 or 7 different independent comic groups, and you'll see people posting up art all the time.
Yeah.
And so if I see somebody's art and I think, yeah, that's a good style, I could probably use that for something down the road, I send that person a friend request. I ask them for like a quote on their professional rates, and I keep that on like a little hard drive.
No Rolodex.
I mean, Rolodex, hard drive, it's the same difference. Like it's a like the whole point is that I
Yeah,
keep a
you have a
whole
list.
information that I go and I'm like, all right, cool. And like obviously, I've backed a lot of independent projects and I've seen some really great art. Like that's how I found Dino Agor and Avery Ferdinand. I found because they were a part of a book called Harlan Buck Freesword, and I adored that book. I loved how it was drawn. I loved everything about it, and so I got in touch with them based off of that, and I got their rates, and I locked them down for Aaron.
Wow. Yeah, that's awesome stuff. And I just had an idea, and then I saw Paul was in the chat. What's going on, Paul? I was just showing off some of the campaign. Had no idea it launched, but it's launched. Be sure to back it. And and yeah, so yeah, because you have a wide array of different artists on different books. And speaking about the books, it, these ideas that you've gathered here for Elysian, for Embrace, SPQR, American Bliss, is this like ideas that you've had for a long time, or is this just like an ability that you have to just create these different stories as you're in the process of making? How is it that you have so many different stories out and about? Like, how does that? Where's the source of all that?
It really varies, to be honest. Like, some of them are very situational. Like the Embrace was something that could only have been born of what I was going through at the time that I created it.
Yeah, I definitely see that. Yeah,
and it's actually like really hard to go back and write the Embrace because I have to get in like the right mindset to do that story. And for a while, it was really hurting my progress on the script for the second book because like things had been going so well. I had been so busy that like whenever I sat down to write, it was just everything that I put down on the page just felt forced. It didn't feel right. And I think that's like one of those big things as a writer is if it isn't sitting right with you, you're doing something wrong. Don't get me wrong. And that's not me saying like everything that you write, you should feel like, oh, this is going to be great. But like, because like at the end of the day, the moment that you don't have that voice in your head telling you like maybe it doesn't work, then it isn't that. Then you're in danger of, putting out something that's not good. Being self-critical is a very important part of the creative process, but like there is also a point where if you are literally just not happy with a single syllable of what you have put down, it's probably not right. And that's the whole deal is like I was just having issues. But like when it comes down to Elysian Fields, on the other hand, that the idea of that concept came from like it stretches all the way back to like middle school for me. Like that was I hung out with a bunch of nerdy kids that we got into arguments of not only what our favorite comic book character, which of our favorite comic book characters would win in fights, but like mythological characters as well, like who would win in a wrestling match, Hercules or Beowulf, like stuff like that. And so those are like the kind of things that inspired Elysian Fields. And it was actually my like fourth or fifth rework of that concept. I had been playing around with that idea. I even had the name a long time ago. I just none of those versions of the story came off right. Additionally, when I was initially starting to work on it, I think every kid that grows up reading comics and everything wants to write and draw their own stuff. But the fact of the matter is that there are some people who can draw it, and there are some people who can't. Like I draw, I do okay. Like I'm not, but I'm not a pro, and I'm never going to be. I don't think I could spend years practicing and doing all this stuff, and I don't think that I would be at a point where I'd be comfortable doing sequential art, where I would be doing like the most I think I'd be able to do is maybe a pinup. But like I'm terrible with background and architecture. I'm terrible with consistency, and I don't think I have my own set style either. I draw things and make them look how I want them to look based off of art that I've enjoyed, but I don't think I have my own distinctive voice as a visual artist. And so I should never be the person doing the art for my book. It makes things very difficult, but it's worth it when you get the right artist and that's able to bring these things to life. And I've been very fortunate in that regard. I've gotten to work with some great people on some fun projects, and that's been a blast. But yeah, like in terms of going back to your question though, is in terms of do I have these things stored in me for like long periods of times, or am I just popping off things? It honestly just depends.
It just depends.
There are certain things where it's like it's situational. I think the embrace, American Bliss. Dave had told me, hey, if there's ever a character from the Genuine Verse that you see that you like and you want to write a story for, just let me know. And I saw American Bliss and I went, I can do a story for her.
Nice.
Captain America is my favorite superhero. I love these kinds of patriotic heroes and what have you. So I'm all down. I'm
in that group of people that like the leaders, like Cap, Cyclops, Mr. Fantastic, those kinds of characters that have to be the voice of reason to do the right thing in the moments where they need that shoulder to lean on, that crutch to put their weight on. I like those characters, and yeah, excellent. I completely agree with you on that part.
Daddy.
What do you like?
And man, I just I had a question that just left me. Yeah, because I'm sorry. Just to round out this idea, I asked you about all these books because normally with creators that are working in the indie scene, it's normally like they're focused on the one story, or they just have the one story that they envisioned when they were in high school, when they were teenagers, and that's normally the case. Like Joe with Reaper Destroyer, Dave with Genuine Comics. He's had that idea developed in high school, in his high school years. The book I'm working on, for example, is a story that I had when I was in high school. And so I was curious, like if all this came from that moment in your past, or if these are ideas that you're bringing forth now. Now because you're a writer and you're working with that. So it was really interesting to hear how that came about. And with how would you say your process goes in terms of writing? Do you feel that that in order to be a writer, are there certain requirements like reading a lot of books? Have you read a lot of books? What do you feel would be a good way to influence writers? And
so, if you want to be a writer, there are certain things that I do think that you need to know. And what you need to do in order to get this is, reading a lot of books helps, obviously, because that's part of understanding the craft, is seeing things. But like, what you really need is you need to get into a peer environment with strangers that are not afraid to tell you that something sucks. In all honesty,
true. That's true.
Being a writer is very much a whole thing of, because there's so many things that can go wrong when you are writing something. Pacing is huge. And it's one of those things. I don't think I have met a single person that has written anything that has not at one point had drastic issues with the pacing of their narrative. Like I don't think that there is a single person that I have met that has not had issues with diversity of character voice, right? Because like when you're writing characters, you're going, oh well, I want them to say these things, and you're just thinking, well, I'll just put down on paper. But the fact of the matter is that a character's voice, how they speak, their cadence of how they say things, everything plays into the storytelling, plays into things. Like it, one of the and it's especially important when you are doing comics. And so like the way that I always play this game is, I'll take a comic book, I'll write down the lines of dialogue, and get rid of the art and just hand it hand it to the person, be like, tell me who is who.
Yeah. Okay.
These are all things. Ultimately, what you need is you need to be reading a lot. You need to understand pacing. You need to understand plot structure. Generally a story follows a 3-act structure of, you're
setting up,
setting up, rising action. You go through 3-act structure, and then like the plot diagram of setting, rising action, climax, falling action, resolution. You need to be able to understand those things and really understand them. Like it's not enough to just know what those things are. It's take your favorite book and get sticky pads and put things where it's like, this is where the setting ends and where it transitions into rising action. This is where the rising action turns into the climax. This is where the climax sets up the falling action, and this is where falling action transitions into resolution. Like most people aren't gonna hit it 100% on the head, but a good writer is able to structure their narrative in a way where you can at least tell where you think those things are going.
Yeah.
And I think that's it's so important. And then the other side of it is that you have to allow yourself to separate your ego from the equation, because this is writing is a very personal thing. You are putting to an extent, all of the characters, the story, everything are an extension of yourself, right? In one way or another. And so it is a very personal thing. You are getting to know that writer. But yeah, it is very hard when you have somebody go through your script and tell you, no, that doesn't work. This even happens to me recently. And I'm fine talking about this because we have already announced that this is happening on Global Frequencies channel. But Neff hired me to write a story for his Mavericks universe.
Nice.
And it's a great concept. Really excited with it. I turned in my first draft of the script, and Neff came back and he was like, hey, the dialogue in here, the interactions between these characters is fantastic. Nothing else about this story works. And it sucks.
Wow.
It sucks. I told them. But you've got to just take those hits and move forward and figure out, okay, well, how can I make this story work? What do I need to do? What are the things that need to happen? Because that's ultimately what it's about. Is there is a creative process there that when it comes down to writing, especially, where you need to be able to listen to what somebody else is telling you, because good art is visual art is one of those things where it's very subjective. It's very subjective. You can have somebody that their art doesn't resonate with one person but it does with the next. But narrative writing, generally speaking, if 5 people don't like it, a lot of people don't like it.
Yeah.
5 to 10 people, if they're saying that the writing is bad, the writing's probably bad.
Yeah.
And what's my favorite character archetype?
Yeah, I didn't know. Yeah.
I don't know, man. like
Oh, for these
I
hard
kind of
questions.
let me hold on one second.
Yeah.
So that I don't mix up anything here. All right, so for everybody that isn't aware of what this question is, there are 12 main archetypes in writing. There's the innocent, the everyman, the hero, the outlaw, the explorer, the creator, the ruler, the magician, the lover, the caregiver, jester, and sage.
Oh, wow.
I'd probably say it's and by the way, when you're writing archetypes, they don't have to just fit into one of these categories. A lot of characters blend at least 2 archetypes together, right?
Yeah.
I would probably say for me, probably either like a close, either a close match, or even a blend of the hero and the explorer.
Interesting.
Uh,
And, are these all of these concepts that you knew about before walking into your first comic, or are these things that you've learned as you've made more and more comics?
This is something that I've known going in.
Going in, wow.
Look, man, it is so writing is not just something one of the big misconceptions that I have seen in independent comics in general is anybody can write, and technically that's true, but in order to tell a story that lasts, you need to dedicate yourself to understanding the craft. You wouldn't hire an artist that had never drawn that has no experience drawing. Like Dean had never drawn a comic book before, but he was a professional tattoo artist. He had a portfolio of stuff. There was experience there. It's not the same. I saw the potential, but generally speaking, you don't just hire somebody off the street. It's one of those things that there's been a lot of criticism of the mainstream where you're hiring people with no experience, no professional experience whatsoever, that are especially from a writing standpoint, literally are just fanfic writers that surround themselves in echo chambers to give them pats on the back.
Yeah.
And the fact of the matter is that writing is a craft. It is something that you have to hone. It is something that you have to understand. Whether that means that you go and take professional writing classes at a school, or whether that means that you go listen to like online podcasts, or even just reading books like The Hero's Journey, by Young and by Carl Jung, or the hero of a thousand faces, stuff like that. You need to know how to craft a story before you go and craft one. It's there's a saying in writing of you need to know the rules so that way you know how and when it's acceptable to break them. You need to understand, even when it just comes down to base grammatical structure and everything like that, because when you're establishing character voice and dialogue, you could spell a word that's normally that's correctly spelled one way, but you spell it a specific way to allude to a dialect, right? That's one of those instances where you have to know that rule in order to bend or break it, right? And that's a pretty solid basic example, but it's the same thing when you're going into archetypes or anything like that. It's not something that you can just do. And the fact of the matter is especially in this industry, the visual side of this medium is the thing that gets people in the door. But there's a reason why some of the most legendary people, the names that stick with people, are not the artists, they're the writers. It's because the story is what sticks with you. The
Yes.
story is what keeps you going. That's not to say that there aren't legendary artists, but if you were to go into a room full of people and ask them if they knew Eric Larson or Stan Lee, everybody would be able to tell you who Stan Lee was. Nobody would be able to tell you who Eric Larson is. And Larson's a writer of his own right, but his mainstay thing is he's an artist.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you went into that room, they probably wouldn't know who he was. But everyone knows who Stan Lee is. Part of that is his cult of personality, but another part of that is he created Spider-Man. Yeah. He created all these, those stories stick with you. And that's what's so important. Because stories, more than anything else, are the grand unifier. Ever since the dawn of time, people have been gathering around campfires to listen to stories. Even before there were paintings on the walls and everything like that, there were stories, oral traditions passed down through storytellers. And that's the whole thing, is that it is something that is a commonality between every single person on the planet. So if you are going to get into writing, you need to dedicate the time to understand the craft and pushing yourself beyond what you think is good and listening to the people around you. It's one of the biggest things that I see. Like everyone gets very defensive of the when somebody for instance, if Abra is still in the chat, one of the things that she brings up in her review of The Embrace is she felt that that Clarence's acceptance of David being there as a ghost felt rushed.
Okay.
And I can understand that. And in fact, that is kind of a thing that happened, because when I initially wrote The Embrace, the structure of that script was very different, and that scene didn't happen until almost 20 pages in. And so I had written it as a very quick thing, and that is something that we probably should have gone back and given an extra page to try and to have Clarence coming to terms with this. But I wanted to get people into the character in costume. I wanted people to get to enjoy the action part that was in the second half of the book. And that's one of those things where it's that the rule, going back to you have to know the rules in order to break them. By the rule, I probably should have given an extra page or two. But we're in a superhero comic. People want to see the Embrace doing cool stuff. And as a result, that was something that unfortunately got, I wouldn't say sacrificed, but it didn't have quite the emphasis that it would have had in, say, if I was writing a prose book.
Exactly.
If I was writing a novel, that's what people are there for. But I'm writing a comic, and a superhero comic at that. And if I'm looming too much on this dark side of Clarence and having him in denial that his son's there for too long in this visual representation, I could lose people.
Exactly. That's a great testament to the value that you give writing, and it's really interesting because in CG it's a really interesting dynamic, because in CG, for example, many people, including myself, complain about the woke agenda being pushed in comics, and then they do that through writing, not only just the art, but just through writing, and just to add to what you were saying, that. We complain about that, yet some of the books in CG aren't necessarily well written, or at least written to the best of possibilities, because I've noticed, for example, in some cases where characters sound like the people that are writing them. Yeah, and that's one of my biggest dreads. Like, for example, whenever I put my comic out, I want you to read it and then not think, oh, this sounds like Elliot when he's talking, because that's happened to me before. I've read comics where I was like, oh, this sounds like this guy, or this sounds like this other guy. 100%. And so Yeah, so
That's
that character voice thing you mentioned is really important. And
it's huge, and it's something that a lot of people struggle with. And that's why like the most effective tool to make sure that you don't do that is take your dialogue, rob it of context of the visual side, don't put names to it, and play a match game.
yeah, that
Who
sounds like a
is
really good idea. I'll implement that.
like I've considered even doing like Udemy classes about it. There is a Tom King short story from Detective Comics 1000 that I have played this game with, where I was just like, all right, Tom King. And I know that people in this community do not like Tom King, but Tom King can write. When Tom King writes a good story, it is a good story.
Yeah.
But probably his weakest asset as a writer is character voice. If he has if he has a large cast of characters, they all just start to sound the same. And I use this Detective Comics 1000 story as a proof of that, because effectively you have Batman, and then when you get and then the Bat family, and so Batman sounds like Batman, or at least his version of Batman. But then you get to the Bat family, and it's 27 shades of Dick Grayson and then Damian Wayne. like everybody is talking with the same kind of snark and everything. And so if you took that dialogue and robbed it of the art that was supporting it, you would not know who was talking outside of Dick. Like, it would be, this sounds like a conversation between multiple Dick Graysons where occasionally Damian Wayne chimes in.
Nice.
Like, there are three character voices.
And to speak on that, is there a story arc or a character or a writer that you think has managed to add different character voices to an excellent level? Is there someone that you'd recommend for us to check out? That you say he does this really well?
I would say probably one of the best people that I've seen do diverse character voices isn't even a comic book writer. Bernard Cornwell is one of my favorite writers of all time. He's a historical fiction novelist. And in particular, his book series, The Warlord Chronicles, which is his version of King Arthur, is so incredibly unique. And all of the characters have their own voice. They have their own distinct personalities. And if you were to take those scenes between those two, between multiple characters, and rob them of the prose context and just have the dialogue, you would know who they are.
Nice. Awesome. And in comics, is there do you have like a group of writers that you would say are your favorites? Maybe like a top 5?
Mainstream books, it's a bit difficult because obviously you have classic guys like Gaiman and Moore who are very talented. But I feel like they have less Moore, because Moore just removed himself from the industry all in all. But Neil Gaiman, I think his writing has started to go downhill because since he's Neil Gaiman, nobody's willing to tell him this is bad. The same thing with Brian Michael Bendis. Bendis started off with a very strong career doing some really good work. And now everything he does is pretty much trash because nobody in an editorial office is willing to tell him, this doesn't work.
Exactly. Yeah. Interesting. And are there any well, you mentioned character voices, pacing. Are there any other like pet peeves that you see new writers constantly make? And I'm sorry, and just before you answer that, I want to say hi to some of the people that just popped up in the chat.
We've got Ape there.
We got Eric Hodson's here, the artist for American Bliss. We have Matt Barr. What's going on, Matt? Always a pleasure to see you. We have Arrogant Ape. What's going on, man? It's a pleasure to see you. Thank you for stopping by. And I think that's it. That's all the new people.
Yep.
Yeah, but
got a fun crowd in the chat. Happy Thanksgiving to you too, Eric. So as far as your question is, like pet peeves of mine that I see is All right, so
Something that
we
just
had
gets
talked
you
about
every time you see
potentially
it.
discussing this during this, but I did a review of ISOM recently.
Ah, yeah. Okay, nice.
Um,
In the face,
and
like, why do you
I
have this
will
nerd on the show?
to put it gently, I don't like ISOM. I think it is a complete waste of a book. I think
Here
that
we go. Here we
he
go.
did. There were 90 pages that ultimately built nothing for this character. And the biggest pet peeve that I have about it is the way the character is pitched is not the way that the character is written. You have a guy that's kind of pitched as a guy that's living on the fringes, is trying to stay under the radar and all of this stuff, and even sets some additional grounds for that within the first few pages of the book. On this guy has worked very hard to keep himself under wraps, but yet the inciting incident that pushes this guy over the edge into his journey back to being a hero is some dude talked not nice to him, and he won't stand that insult. This is a problem. If you have a character that has worked this hard to stay under wraps, stay under the radar, one measly little comment is not going to send him over the edge.
Yeah.
That's not congruent. There's a consistency of character here that has been completely broken, and it completely shatters any suspense of disbelief that the audience could have. Neff's in the chat. Oh, you son of a bitch. Anyways, so like ISOM, as a result, has this very conflicting character. Now, there are other issues that book has. There's a lot of them, specifically in it being a superhero book and nobody knows what the character stands for. And I love I love this cover, not because it's a great cover, but because when you see the costume in the book, it looks nothing like this.
Wow. They baited us. That's bad.
Like you see how it wraps around the back of his neck there?
Yeah.
That's not there. It cuts off at the shoulders and is more of a T, and that cross is up towards the navel, not towards the groin. It's more around here. And then I could really just I could go on for hours about how this book is not good. But anyways, point is that character consistency is crucial. And I'm willing to forgive a lot of problems with the book if I see that there is care there. And I think that that's ultimately the biggest pet peeve is when I see somebody that is just doing something for the sake of doing it, right? That there doesn't seem to be care. I have read a lot of independent books that are not great, but I am willing to give it a bit more of a pass because I can tell that there is care there. I don't have that with this.
What do you attribute this to? For example, do you think that because July is this big persona on social media that he may think that because he expresses himself on a daily basis, his points of views and his ideas, and many people and it resonates with many people, which is why he has these followers. And do you think that maybe because he has this preconceived idea that his ideas are well accepted, that he can just jump into writing, or what do you think is what do you think is the cause of these mistakes?
I think that part of it is certainly ego.
Ego, yeah, okay.
Two characters in this book sound just like July when they talk. Isom and the main villain both sound just like Eric D. July. But I think ego plays a big part of it.
Okay.
I think that he didn't really have, like, he has 2 copy editors on the book, but that's not the same
wow.
thing as having a story editor. And on top of that, if he paid those copy editors, they should be fired, because the amount of spelling and grammatical errors that were in this is like on just one page. And Neff knows this because he was one of the people involved. Me and a few other people were able to find no less than 7 spelling and grammatical errors.
Oh, Nefarious says Oden is just a hater. He's threatened by a strong African American man successfully making his mark in comics. Did you know he also hates Eric Weathers?
Neff.
Oh, I saw that. You were trying to say though, because I had a similar conception also with Battle Brick Road. I was like, it's the story that we all know. Like, where could the variety be in that story? But it was I liked Battle Brick.
Battle Brick Road was great. I was very
it.
impressed with Battle Brick Road.
Yeah, it was nice. I enjoyed it.
But man, it's like a.
He says, I know, right? He can't just leave well enough alone. He has to go after these genuine creators for what he perceives are their imperfections rather than celebrating their success. Oh man. He says Oden is frustrated because they're doing it.
Cut off laptop.
No, but my signal is being wonky. I don't get it.
I'll be wonky.
I'm sorry.
Oh, dude, you're good. I thought it was my issues because
my connection. No, my connection.
Okay.
I've been going through this for like 2 weeks, and yeah, I'm sorry. I have to call them up. And
it's no problem. I thought that it was actually going on my end.
Oh man, that was me. But yeah, let's. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut it off. But yeah, he's Nefarious says Oden is frustrated because Air July is doing it for the sake of doing it, while Oden is writing comics that tug at your heartstrings but get overlooked in favor of spectacle like Isom. And Oden is worse than Emperor Palpatine.
Okay, so here's. I know Neff is joking, but there is
yeah.
Like I mean, obviously there is somewhat of a truth to that. Like I have a proven record and what have you, and of course every single person that comes into this wants to be successful. So it is frustrating when a book that is like this, that doesn't live up to its hype, is disappointing and frustrating. But I think that the bigger issue for me is there are people that have tried to point this stuff out to him, and he is not receptive. And then it's even more fueled by people giving it glowing reviews when it doesn't deserve glowing reviews. And I think that we need to have a very honest discussion with ourselves that if we are trying to establish a merit-based system, that we hold these books to the same standard of what's coming out from the professionals on the other side. We cannot allow ourselves any room to appear unbiased, because the argument against us is that we just don't like this because of the politics. Like me, I am not your standard guy. I'm more in the center politically, maybe even leaning a little bit towards the left. I have very different political ideas and philosophies to a lot of people here. But what I do think is that creators in the mainstream are so focused on trying to push what they believe onto others that the narratives suffer, and it's bad writing. Because politics and all that stuff, those things are present in pretty much everything, because art, even written art, is a reflection of life. And so those things are going to be put in there, are going to make their ways into creative projects. It's a matter of presentation. Does politics serve as a subtext, or is it the text? And that's where the problem goes. Now, so I don't think not holding this book accountable for its flaws is a mistake, because all it's going to do is, the moment you hand ISOM off to a normal person who is reading books and has no idea about the controversies or anything like that, if you hand that person this book, they are going to get maybe 10 or 15 pages in and go, why am I reading this? And hand it back to you. And
exactly,
like, that's a problem.
How do you think we would go about like setting up some kind of like credibility for writers and books and stories? Because right now, for example, as you're explaining all this, something that came to my head was, what if we had something like Rotten Tomatoes but for comics? Like for example, in hip hop, for those that like hip hop, you would know, like, if an album was classic, because for example, in the source, the album would get 5 mics, it would get 4.5 mics, or in Double XL, you also get like a certain rating system. Do you think that we could probably create something like that for comics that can, like,
there are people that do that.
Tell us
and that's the thing, is that I feel that that's what the YouTube reviews and everything like that are. They are that system. The problem is that there are, I think, a lot of people who, rather than fully speak their mind about something, will go along because they want something to be successful.
Yeah.
Because ISOM is not that good of a book. That being said, it is something that is a big deal because of how well financially it did and the media attention it got. So admitting that the book is not up to snuff is something that I feel people are not comfortable admitting necessarily, or they could also be worried about the backlash.
That's true. Yeah.
And like that's what it ultimately comes down to, is I feel that at the end of the day, judge a book based off of its merit. How is the art? How is the writing? Does the story do what it's supposed to? Do you understand the character? Do you understand what's driving them? Do you understand what this story is supposed to be? And if you can't answer, if you don't have an answer to any of those questions outside of "I have no idea," then the book has failed at its job.
Yeah. That's true.
I love perfect example of this, and I do have to go here because I got my kid.
No worries.
But like a perfect example of this is, I love the Barton brothers. I got Kozor the other day. The art in it is fantastic. The narrative is really rough, and I am hopefully going to be having a show with them soon to talk about it. But like, it it is a book that could have been a lot more, and it needs that work. And I have no problems with telling them that. But like, it's something that needs to be addressed. Kozor was a book that a lot of people were anticipating. People are now getting it. People are reading it. And there are issues because you don't really know what's going on.
Oh, wow.
And that's...
Please don't spoil it because I haven't gotten it yet.
Like, it is a problem.
Yeah.
And that's something that they need to grow and fix. Now, as I said, I do actually have to go. I promised my son I would take him out for lunch before I went to work today.
No worries at all. Yeah.
He's been very well behaved. So
yeah, he has. Thank you.
I have got to pop off, but I thank you so much for having me on.
No, thank you.
And you know, I hope that, like, I know that you're tapping out the year at the 14th, but I do hope you continue your show because I'd love to come back on and talk with you again.
I mean, we'll see what happens. I'll definitely. If I have no idea what the future holds, because and I say that. Well, actually, I don't know if I'll be streaming next year because I have to get back to work because I've been doing work from home the last few months since the pandemic, and that's coming to an end for me next year. So I don't know what will happen with the show, but I'll keep you guys updated. And but thank you very much for coming on the show. It meant a lot to me. Getting your insight on all this and hearing you out has been a pleasure. And thank you very much to your son for being patient. And you're free to head on out whenever you need to.
Absolutely, man. I do have to go. Thank you so much. Yeah. Later to everyone in the chat, thanks for being here. Thanks for the support. Don't forget, sign up for the Embrace 2. We are launching here next year. We will be announcing the official launch date here very soon. We also have the Embrace 2 fan art contest where you can submit pieces about of the Embrace and Strangle, and that goes through when we launch the campaign. But I do have to go. Thanks so much. You have a great day. Bye.
Take care, man. Be safe. Well, so yeah, be sure to sign up for the Embrace. And oh man, I can't with his comics, man. With his comments, Neff. Good stuff, man. Yeah, $4.99. Yeah, I saw the art for that, and oh man, you guys are killing me. But yeah, writing is not easy. There's definitely things to know about it. Michael had mentioned pacing, and Neff can correct me if I'm saying anything, if I'm misspeaking in any sense of the word. But if I say anything wrong or misleading, but for example, in this page, it's not, the words have not been done yet. The letter has not been done. But in this page for American Bliss, for example. We see this panel, and in this panel, for example, we can tell that she's going full speed, and there's like an action sense to this. She's traveling, she's flying, and things. And I would assume that from what the little bit that I've been reading, that here in this panel, for example, you're not going to use up all this space on the left to put a big narration box and a big text and fill it up with words, because if you fill it up with words, the reader has to slow down, take their time to look at that box, read the words, and then continue with the rest of the story and the art. So pacing, if I'm not mistaken, is referring to that, to putting, I guess you could say, small texts for fast action, and bigger text when things, when there's just people talking, people are setting up and establishing shot, things like this. So that's with pacing. And then character voice, I've seen that many times while I read the story, and then I'm reading the story, and then the character talks just like the person who created the character. And that's giving me a lot of dread, because I would not want you to read this comic with that I'm working on, and then, this is just Elliot talking for these 10 pages. But yes, and I'm going to close it down a little bit. Thank you very much to the people in the chat. If you have any questions, please go ahead and ask. I want to say hi to the people that showed up recently. Jim Cox, what's going on, man? It's a pleasure to have you, to see you. And yes, Amanda says your evidence is pretty sus. It says Eric Jim Cox from the artist formerly known as Prince. What is that all about? Yeah, that must be an inside thing. I have no idea. Eric Constant is a serial abuser and a murderer. That page slaps. He killed it. Okay. In that sense. Yeah, definitely, man. And so so I'm gonna take advantage of the fact that I got all you people here. I'm gonna blast myself. Not literally, just common sense. I'm going to shout out my stuff here. I'm going to reveal what this comic is that I'm working on December 14th, which is also going to be my last stream for the year. I have no idea if I'm coming back next year. Things are looking as if I'm not coming back next year, but I'll still continue doing videos, and if I do more streaming, I will keep you informed. But December 14th, I'm going to reveal to the world what comic I'm working on, and I will finish it. And yes, and oh yeah, also for my American friends, which is I think the majority of everybody in the chat. Happy Thanksgiving. Hope you guys have a great day tomorrow. And I don't know if you have a long weekend. I don't know if that's the case or not, but just enjoy the holiday, and just complimenting, adding to Paul's comment here, says have a great holiday for those celebrating and a great week for those that aren't. Yes, we're not celebrating it here. We do have a celebration with turkey, but it's for December. We do our turkey feasts for Christmas, and I feel really bad because I have one question that was pending. I'll give you my answer to the question, but it was an excellent question that Michael just didn't have a chance to answer, which was how difficult is it for a decent artist to write and draw his or her own book? My personal opinion on this, Rob, is that it is difficult because there's. I'm aware of some of the things that Michael Oden and some of these other writers are pointing out because I like reading. Before jumping back into art, I was reading a lot of books, and I'm aware of the 3-story arc idea. I'm aware of some of these other concepts, but me being aware of them is completely different to me being able to use them and to write a good story. And so when I'm writing out the story, like where do I begin? What do I start with? And so it's for me, and in this case, for my story, it's a long process. I am not a writer by nature. I'm trying my best. It is a long process, and the first thing that I did was write a synopsis, and it's just something short, just giving me an idea of what the story is about. Then I expand on that, and then just try to pick events in the story and try to elaborate more on how things happen. I also have an idea in my head, for example, of what is the I want to put this character through a lot of challenging situations. I want to push this character and make this character react to the action and events that are happening in the comic. And so I have to create these ideas, these situations, and at the back of my mind is like, what do I want this character to learn from this situation? Do I want him to learn to be more patient? Do I want him to to realize the importance of what it is to be a hero? And because there's all these different things that happen that we have to take into consideration. So it is difficult. It's a challenge, and which is why I'm taking a lot of time reading books about how to write comics, how to do pacing, and things like this, and especially hearing successful writers like Michael Oden, like Telepathic Bunny, like Dave Brink that was on the show. Hearing all of these writers is good to hear this kind of feedback. There's a lot more writers to get in contact with that I would love to talk with. Like, for example, Nefarious. I've heard great things about the book Mavericks. I haven't got my copy yet, but I can't wait to dig into it and see what it's about. And so, yeah, writing is not to be taken lightly, at least from my perspective. But yes. Um, so let's see if I'm missing anything. Yeah, how you doing, Replicant? Good to see you. Yeah, and Rob, I hope that answers your question, or at least gives you some idea. It is difficult, but it's not impossible. I think you can, keep pushing at it, keep working with it, and I think you'll be able to get a good story. One thing that I do recommend, Rob, I do recommend this is please get an editor. Please get an editor. An editor can really not so much for the sake of like checking your grammar and punctuation, but for the sake of like making sure that um, scenes that you want to have a dramatic impact on the reader, make sure that they hit just right. Make sure that the ending, finishes. Make sure you have that superhero landing with your ending. Make sure that you build things up great. Make sure that you have suspense in there, or just according to what you're writing. But I would recommend get a good editor for that to help you to get an extra pair of eyes on your work. And yes, so that's what I would recommend. Thank you very much, Mighty Magic. I hope you like what I have to show you guys off. Show off to you guys. Thank you very much, Rob Wilson. Let's see what Neff says. He says Elliot has done some great page breakdowns on Twitter. He clearly understands comments from artists, readers' perspective, to say things, staging, layout, and flow. His book with be structurally sound. I hope. Whether it will be well written, only his editor knows for sure, but I know he cares a lot about putting out his very best on show. Yeah, I'm trying my best. I have this story that I've been working on for like a few, it's almost embarrassing for me to say. Like I've been working on this for months, but I don't know if it's gonna be any good or not. But yeah, I'm trying my best to put something out there. Eric Gannett says, okay, Neff, so here's the pitch. Idea by Ripa, story by Oden, art by Narwhal, and colors by your boy. Oh, there's a book in the bundles Nefarious has been sending out. In those bundles. Yeah, I've seen that. I've seen like all of this on unboxing videos, and it's got like stacks of prints, stacks of extra goodies. And then when you get through all that stuff, you get a really good book. So yes, are you trying to kill? Oh man. And thanks for yeah, we definitely are, man. Because I have no idea what the heck I'm doing. I'm trying to learn about writing, and it's I'm learning as I go, and yeah. But I mean, I'm aware of some of these things, and I want to make sure that I do it right. For example, the editor that I got in contact with told me to write the whole story out, because when I first approached him, I approached him with this chapter 1 story. So the story for the first book is done. It's been done for a long time, and so I've finished it, and I approached the editor and I told him, hey, here's the chapter 1 for the book. Like, let me know what your opinion is. And then he got it and came back to me and he said, where's the rest of it? Like, I want like the complete story, like not just this beginning, the setup part. I want to see what the whole thing is about. And so yeah, that just completely gutted me, because I wasn't like ready to get to that part yet. And I was thinking like I would draw it and write it and then draw it and write it and draw it and write it. But this editor in particular is giving me the idea of just write the story out, have it completely finished, and then start doing the art. And I'm following that. I'm doing that. So this is the reason why I'm doing this preview first, because I want to give the readers something to look at while they're waiting, because I have to finish doing the writing, and then once I get everything checked out, I'm going to jump into the art of it. And it makes sense for me, because when I jump into the art, when I start doing sequentials, I don't want to stop. Like, I don't want to like do 10 pages and then have to stop to write 10 more pages. I don't want no. So when I jump into the art, I want to just draw and try to get everything out as quick as possible. So, I mean, those ideas, for example, like I wouldn't have known if it hadn't been for an editor. So I think it's important to have that, at least from that standpoint, to give you more ideas in the creative process. He says, I'm confused too, Jim. I thought I was just getting a palette of print. Yeah, man. Uh, it says, I'm not sure I am on board with that pitch. Yeah, that sounds dangerous. I know it's hard to find and read. I'm hoping you all just forget about the book and missed all the toys and art. Yeah, that could be like a deterrent or like a distractor. Take a look at all these prints. No, don't worry. Don't pay attention about the book. The Max is really good so far, but I haven't finished it. Oh, I haven't started it yet. I know the digital is out there, but I want to have it in my hand and enjoy it. And as I read it, it says thank you, Paul. I hope you enjoy the rest. Um, Man, I love to see the episode of Chaotic Grace for my Death of Comics pitch. Yeah, that would be nice. That would be nice. It sounds like this editor is at least halfway competent. Yeah, I want to. I'd name him, but he's in the CG sphere. You know, I don't want to name him just yet because I want to make sure that he's fully on board because I want to count on him for the rest of the story and not just this beginning part. So once I get things hashed out, I think I will reveal who this person is on December 14th. I think I don't know. I'll play with that idea. And so yes, I think I'm going to close it here. Way over the hour, and but yes, don't forget December 14th. I'll talk to you about my comics, and you can find me here on YouTube and on Twitter, and that's it. So thank you very much for everyone. Keep it a secret. People are like, yeah, I think I'll keep it a secret. Yes, maybe it'll appear in the book in the credits or something like that. Um, yeah, thanks. Thank you very much for your countless feedback, Neff. I really appreciate it, and thank you for coming in and scaring away my guest. I really appreciated that. Everything was fine until you came here and started accusing him of hating everybody. I'm just kidding, man. Just joking, but yes, it was fun. All right, guys. So thank you very much for stopping by, and yeah, glad you guys came out and hang out with me. I really appreciate it. And so yes, so that is it for today. I will catch you guys next week. Next week I have uh, Jeremy. Uh, I don't want to. My initial the way that I would think of pronouncing his last name is Thevena, but I've heard it on the stream that it's pronounced somewhere something differently. But the creator of Beck and Recourse is coming on the show next week, and I'm going to talk with him and show off his incredible book. He's been working on it for a long time, but I'll get a chance to talk with him about his book next week. And then after that, I have Rob Wilson on the show, and then my final show where I will reveal everything about my comic. And then that is it. Thank you very much, everyone. I hope you have a great day. I will catch you around, and that's it. And I'm out. Peace.